Most of us know what blackmail is. And with emotional blackmail, what it is when someone exerts their control over you and they use you. They have an attachment with you. They know you. They know you care about them. And so they use emotional blackmail to get what they want. It's a desperate measure. Now, before I go into the bad part of it, in the extreme part of it, and what it does in relationships, I want to remind all you watchers that we all do emotional blackmail. Something as simple as pouting when our partner comes home because they didn't bring us a treat from the grocery store, or they didn't bring us our favorite ice cream, or you kind of sulk, or you might even use a silent treatment if you don't get what you want from your partner. And even though we use it and it's not, it's not right, we should try not to do it. Most of us do it. And we know what it feels like. We know what it feels like on the other end of it. But when you're with someone, when you're dating someone who is an emotional blackmail, it's completely different. Like they've already scoped you out. They know what your motives are. They know exactly why the type of person you are will fall into their trap. And they know this because they use something that's referred to as fog. They use your fear, they use your sense of obligation, and they use your sense of guilt. People who are blackmailed usually have a very good sign, a very good sense of morality. And if anything, they feel more obligated. They will take on things that aren't their fault, that aren't their problem, and they'll assume many times the guilt. And emotional blackmailers know that. In fact, they know it sometimes before the person that actually feels that way will pick it up. And when I see them in my office, I can tell you these cases can go to extremes. I've had to testify in courts because of them. Now, there are different types of emotional blackmail, and I want to go through those. There's 4 major types. The first one of these are the punishers. Punishers will threaten to directly hurt the person they're blackmailing. Like they might stop you from seeing your friends, or they might withdraw affection, or they can even physically hurt you. In a way, they're the most dangerous, but then I have to caution you because these other types are pretty dangerous too. The self-punishers. The self-punishers are the ones that threaten to hurt themselves as a form of blackmail. If you don't do what I want, or if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. That's a self-punisher. They'll make these remarks to you that make you feel guilty for leaving them, or make you feel guilty for going after the choices, maybe a job you wanted, because they'll make you feel like it's selfish and they're going to get hurt in the situation. The sufferers. The sufferers are the ones who blame for their emotional state. They'll expect you to comply with their wishes to make them feel better. They may say something like, go out with your friends and have a good time. I'll spend the whole evening feeling sad because I took off to make this special with you tonight. This is a perfect sufferer. I like to also call them martyrs because they do that in other areas, but mostly they use this for you because they know you're going to feel sad and get sucked in to their treatment. And lastly, the tantalizers. The tantalizers, they don't make direct threats. They're sneakier. They'll dangle a promise. Maybe something you wanted them to do, they'll dangle it. Just saying, well, I was going to get you a ring. I'm thinking of getting you a ring, but I'm just waiting because I want to make sure I have enough money, or something like that. Or in a case of divorce, they'll dangle threats about the kids, especially if you have kids. They use kids as pawns because they know what hurts, and they'll hurt you at every chance they get at this point. I think it's important that you understand the stages, because sometimes people say, well, they made a demand, but what does that mean? Oh, that means everything. There's stages that emotional blackmailers use, and the first is the demand. The emotional blackmailer tells the victims what they want from them, and then they add an emotional threat to it, such as, if you leave me, I'll hurt myself, or if you leave, I'll hurt the kids, or if you leave, I'll take the kids. Things like this are very common in emotional blackmail. Then there's a resistance. The victim resists demands as it's frequently unreasonable. So you may say, well, that's insane. I'll get a lawyer. I don't have to. I'm not going to stay home because you might hurt yourself. If you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt yourself anyway. And it's important we put that in because some people, go into denial. They'll say, well, I resisted. I stood up for myself. That is not standing up for yourself. That is part of the plan, part of the pattern. The next is the pressure. The blackmailer starts pressuring you to give in without caring how you feel or if you're scared or anything else. They will pressure you, and this pressure is intense and it's not reasonable. And if you were to tell another person, they would say, this is nuts. It's nuts, all right. But you're already seduced in because they have you fearful and they know you feel guilty and they know you feel obligated. And so this is what they're working on. The next thing they do is they'll send a threat. They'll say something like, if you don't do what I tell you, I'm going to tell your friends this, or I'm going to go and tell your mother this, or I'm going to have so-and-so go get your parents, or pick up so-and-so from school. This is very common, and I see it a lot, so I want you to be aware of it. Next is compliance. You're scared. You're scared, and there's a part of you that feels responsible, so you're going to give in to the threat. And this is the worst thing you can do, but at the same time, it's part of the pattern. And lastly, that is the pattern is set. There's compliance and the pattern is set. If you can interject with the healthcare, with the police authorities, with a support person at any time during this process, you're going to be better off and you're going to nix the blackmailer's intention. But it's so difficult. That's why you need at least one person that you can tell and confide in that this emotional blackmailing is going on. Now you might think, is it over? Like, if I am with a person like this, what are my chances of ever, can this relationship exist? Well, there's all kinds of examples of what blackmailers will do in statements. And if you have 2 of these, that's too many. And at this point, I would for sure start instituting a plan. So if I ever see another man look at you, I will kill him. If that's not romantic, guys, if you hear that, that is an emotional blackmailer. That is not a healthy, normal person. I've already discussed this with our pastor, therapist, friends, family, and they agree that you are being unreasonable. You will hear that from the emotional blackmailer. And you need to understand this is all in the books. This is what this person has. It was your fault that I was late for work. Another typical kind. If you wouldn't cook in an unhealthy way, I wouldn't be overweight. You can see that they don't take responsibility for yourself. Another type of emotional blackmail. You'll never see the kids again. I'll make you suffer. You'll destroy this family. And they say that in the case if you say you're going to leave. You'll be sorry. I'm cutting you out of my will. I don't care if it's a parent, a sibling, a lover, a husband, whatever. If they're saying these things, then you have got to go to the authorities. If you're going to try to stop it on your own with the professional people behind you, this is exactly what the plan you need. Number 1, you need to change your mindset. You need to understand you deserve respect, and this is sick. Until you can accept that, you're going to go on and continue in this very unhealthy, sick pattern. Choose a healthy relationship. Tell yourself, you know what? I respect myself. I know this is unhealthy. It's bad for my kids, and I deserve something better. Set boundaries. This is when you go to the police and you say, listen, I need restraining orders. This person, if they won't stop when you tell them, when you block them, then you go to the police and you say, I need protection. If it's your parents, you don't keep going over to their house. You may not need to call the authorities, or you may need to, but you do not go around them. You say, my boundaries are, you don't just show up without calling ahead, and I have my own place now, and I don't need to have you just drop in, and I'm not going to just drop in on you. I'm going to call and ask. This is very important, especially for grown children and their adult parents, when the adult parents are using emotional blackmail. Learn to say no. Practice in the mirror whatever you need to do, and then confront the blackmailer. Okay, you're going to go to the police before you confront them. After that, if they come around, you are confronting them, and you're going to say, you're pushing our relationship to the edge, and I feel uncomfortable, and I'm not going to do this anymore. Make sure you have support people before you confront them in this way. We need to find ways to deal with our conflicts that do not leave me feeling emotionally abused and worthless. This is if they're trying to guilt you into coming back and you already have the support you need. A therapist will help you write these things so you'll be able to talk if the therapist decides they should see you together. I need to be treated with respect because I deserve it. Let's talk about it, and don't threaten or punish me anymore. That's if you're actually going to have some sort of dialogue. If you have children together, this may be helpful, but not without the help of a professional and also the law enforcement if you need restraining orders. And last, get psychological help. No matter what, this person, even if they're long gone, these people can be gone out of your life for 2 years. You will still wake up in cold sweats, worried about something they said. They get under your skin. They dig in deep, and it's difficult to let them go. Any of these problems that you're having with emotional blackmail, I want you to know you are not crazy. You are not sick. You are a person that has been in a very unhealthy relationship. And the only way out is for you to start making the steps and say, no more. I deserve better. I deserve to be respected.